Is the second event in the Andrews Memorial lecture series that the business school has instituted, and we've asked a panel of entrepreneurs to come and talk with us today. They represent a variety of businesses and a variety of experiences. I think that you'll find that they've got lots of interesting things to say. I'm going to introduce the panel first, and then we'll get it started. So over here is Natalie Brown from Scratch Cupcakery on my far left, and Sharon Orr from Shrimptastic. So Natalie's originally started in Cedar Falls, right? Sharon is from here in Fayette, and Dave Garand of Garand Transmission in St. Lucas, is that right? And Nick May from Iowa Food Hub, which actually started out of the Decorah area, is that right? So, all right, we're still on the technology piece over here. But I'm going to go ahead and Natalie, if you'll turn on your microphone, and each of our guests will have a little time to tell you about their business, and we'll just pass that on down. And then I want questions from you all and answers from our panel after they're done telling their piece of the story. So we'll go ahead and start with Natalie.
Hi, everybody. Like Lynn said, my name is Natalie Brown. I own Scratch Cupcakery. I started about 20 years ago, almost 17, with my background in marketing and graphic design. So I really had no idea about a bakery. I owned a catering company at the time and did that all through college. Really decided that catering was really hard, but what I really loved was making people happy. And that's kind of how it transitioned into our mission with Scratch. So I held a job in graphic design and marketing for about 13 years, till right before I turned 30, and decided the computer thing just wasn't for me anymore. I didn't want to sit behind a desk. I wasn't feeling super fed in my job, like go home at night and just know you have to get up and go to work to the next day, and I really wanted to love what I did. So over the course of about 12 weeks, I quit my job. I finished there well, found a little building downtown Cedar Falls, real little. My brother came back from Oklahoma, my dad came back from Colorado, and we stripped it down to the studs. And about 8 weeks after that, we opened what we now call Little Scratch. So that was June of 2010. About 2 weeks after we opened, we started looking for a bigger building. We knew we had done it wrong. It was far too small for what we were doing. So 2011, we opened what we now call Big Scratch after another renovation with my brother and my dad and the whole team of friends and employees. So that was toward the end of 2011. 2012, we realized Cedar Falls can't handle the masses that were coming, so we opened Waterloo to try to split it up a bit, and it worked. So in 2012, we opened the Waterloo location. In 2013, in January, we opened the West Des Moines location, and then in November, we opened the Coralville location. In the midst of all of that, in 2011, I decided maybe cupcakes weren't really what I wanted to do, so I opened another little retail store downtown Cedar Falls that I have since closed, but it was a lot of fun at the time. So we did 6 retail stores in 40 months. We just didn't really stop for that amount of time. Now we've paused on the opening of stores, which is my team really loves right now. A couple of years ago, we started a fundraising program. Keeps us super busy. Some of you maybe have seen Scratch Curbside. We've come to campus. We go all over Iowa, surrounding states a little bit, Illinois, Wisconsin. So that's kind of what the business looks like right now. I employ about 160 people across the 4 locations. We have in-house marketing, accounting, operations, everything that a big business does, we have as well, just a lot smaller scale. At least I think it's smaller scale. I own the company solely. I operate under a management model. So each one of my locations has a management team, a store manager, a kitchen manager, one of them has an assistant manager. And then myself and my general manager travel each week. So she hits every store every week. I go every 10 days or so. Kind of see how things are going. We're constantly brainstorming, trying to do new things, trying to introduce new things. But our focus is cupcakes. So that wasn't 10 minutes, but that's kind of the gist.
by the way, her cupcakes are wonderful. And you're only supposed to eat one at a time. Anyhow, I'm Sharon Orr. I am Shrimptastic. That is a business that my husband and I started not quite a year ago. It was actually his idea. I'm the marketing arm of this venture, and he is the production manager. Our background is my husband's been farming for well over 40 years. I have been a financial advisor for over 20 years, and we were looking at retirement in a few years and decided we would not be good retirees. Neither one of us have any hobbies. He doesn't golf, he doesn't do woodworking, he just farms. So he was looking for something that would diversify the farming operation, because quite honestly, we've been through the cycles of farming and we don't see the traditional corn soybean markets doing anything wonderful in the next few years. So it was a way of diversifying the farming operation. I agreed with that because from my financial planning background, I'm going diversification is good. And he just has to grow things. It was also going to be, the idea was that it would be less physically taxing than some sort of large livestock operation. We also have finished hogs, so he's got a finishing operation as well as beef cattle. So this is just another form of livestock to him. So he had looked at aquaculture type of ventures for quite a few years, not knowing for sure what direction he wanted to go, whether that was going to be fish farming or some sort of greenhouse thing, or even some sort of combination where you grow fish on the bottom and vegetables on the top. But we read some articles about shrimp farming. We talked to some people. We went to some meetings that Iowa State had put on about aquaculture. Learned quite a bit about the demand for fresh seafood is very, very high, but the ocean's capacity to produce seafood does not keep up with the demand. So there's a huge gap, and so all of the aquaculture that's starting around the world is going to help to fill that gap. Anyhow, we settled on the shrimp, and we also looked at initially retrofitting our finishing buildings, but they were not conducive to raising shrimp, so we had a piece of property that we already owned along Highway 150, just north of town here a mile, and we decided to construct new. So we broke ground in the fall of 2014, and we've been behind schedule and over budget ever since. So he's figuring out the growing. We have worked with a consultant to figure out what the procedures are. It's a lot of water testing. It's just a different type of product. He's been very successful at growing it. I'm the marketing arm, like I told you, and that is trying to juggle a lot of different things and trying to figure out who wants this stuff. No pun intended, but I need to cast a wide net over Northeast Iowa and get people to understand why this fresh seafood is good for you, and it's actually good for the environment too, because we are very ecologically friendly. We are not disturbing the ocean floor by raising our shrimp and harvesting our shrimp. We are contaminant free, which those that are grown in the oceans or on shorelines cannot claim. The only thing we put in our tank besides the shrimp and the shrimp food is sea salt and lime, and that's it. So educating people about our fresh product and letting them know how to prepare it. That's another thing in the Midwest that is a little bit of a hurdle, and that people don't know what to do with it. Most of the time, if they've eaten shrimp, it's just been what they see on the plate in the restaurant, and they don't know how to dehead it or clean it. It's not hard. It takes literally seconds. It's not a messy job or anything like that, but just educating people about that. And it's low in calories, it's low in cholesterol. It's really good for you, and getting them to incorporate that into their regular diet and not just have it for a special occasion. It's just the two of us right now. He works for free, and so do I. I'm sure there'll be more questions, so I'll pass the mic on. And
okay, my name is Dave Guerin. I'm from St. Lucas. My wife and I own and operate Guerin Transmission. I started when I was 19. And that was in 1978. I bought my dad out. He had some health problems. He was arthritis. Work on vehicle. So back then, we pretty much worked on any kind of vehicle, lawnmower to a tractor. We got into automatic transmissions early in the 80s. By 1987, I bought my brother out. Okay. So in '87, I bought my brother out, and we moved more and more into automatic transmissions. In the early 90s, one part of the automatic transmission was a torque converter, but could not get good ones. And when I made my concerns known to the companies we were getting them from, they basically told us, if you don't like the quality, you can make your own. So we bought some equipment. We started to make our own. It was a high learning curve because we had never done them before. So it's changed from doing full transmissions to doing torque converters, and then we had problems getting the parts for the torque converters. So we had to start making our own parts. So we bought the equipment to make these parts. Now we have about 100 locations that we sell to throughout the U.S. And most of what we sell are parts that we make for the transmission and for the torque converter. We sell wholesale and retail. So we have about 14 employees. Our biggest challenge in St. Lucas is to get people to come and work in a small town where there's really nothing to do. So that's our biggest challenge there. I'm sure you'll have more questions for me. This is first time that I'm doing something like this, so what I thought was going to be about 10 minutes turned into a few, but I think I'll pass it on now.
Hi, my name is Nick Mabe. I'm coordinator at the Iowa Food Hub. As Lynn said, we started up in Decorah, but right now we're based in West Union. A little bit about my background. Before working down here in West Union at the Iowa Food Hub, after a career in the military, I got involved with local agriculture. I started getting interested in producing food for folks. Did that for about 5 years, and then wanted to take it to the next step, learned the distribution side of it. That last mile to the customer was interesting, so found this position, came down, and started working for the Iowa Food Hub. So while most of these folks here started up a business, I'm representing a business, or a nonprofit actually, that was in existence before I was here. With that said, we've definitely been a part of expanding and growing it. So the Iowa Food Hub, what we are basically is a local food distribution company, local food distribution organization, I should say. We are set up as a nonprofit, a 501c3, so we don't pay certain taxes. We do pay some other taxes. We were started back in around 2011 or so, up in here in Northeast Iowa. If you're not familiar with the area, there is a lot of corn and soybeans like the rest of Iowa, and there's great systems set up to support those farmers, whether that's support for education and assistance financially, as well as markets for these farms. Also large-scale livestock operations, even grass-fed beef, grain-fed beef, finished beef. What people were starting to notice was, in this area, there is a lot of kind of farms in that middle, folks that are doing vegetables, or folks that are dairies that are wanting to do their own line of milk or yogurt, or some non-traditional livestock setups. And there wasn't a lot in this area, a lot of systems to support those farms in terms of the market. So different groups came together. Northeast Iowa Food and Farm Partnership representing farmers in this area, Northeast Iowa Food and Fitness, representing stakeholders that are interested in increasing healthy local food in schools and hospitals, underserved communities, and then also a nonprofit, Alameda New Beginnings, based out of Waukon, dealing with food equality and promotion. And what kind of came out of that was the Iowa Food Hub, and what we primarily focus our attention on is, wrote it down because I'm always asked these 6 different things, and I always forget the lingo sometimes. So our main focuses are small farm viability, so ensuring that farms have a place in this area and a future. Food access and equality. We're very blessed to have great land, and it's beautiful up here. Jobs sometimes are lacking, and there's a lot of, there's some poverty in this area, and people that are working 2 to 3 jobs and sometimes have a hard time accessing some good local food. Local economic, so that's primarily, we do that through working with local farmers. Job creation and retention, again, creation, allowing farms to expand their operations and hire more folks and keep those folks on longer term as opposed to just seasonal. We focus on beginning farmers. With that said, we work with a lot of established farmers. We try to help beginning farmers get their operations going. But established farmers are the ones that have that year in, year out, week in, week out supply of the products that we're looking for. And then also food system research and education. We do a lot of, being a nonprofit, we have a little bit of a buffer that allows us to do some different pilot projects that aren't necessarily economically viable, but we can try those out, get lessons learned, put out papers, and spread that across the Midwest and the nation as well. So how our system is set up, and how do we support these different measures? We do this through a variety of ways. We at the basic level, we work with farmers in the area, we buy their products, we market those products, and then we sell those products. So we're that market, and we're also helping to find that market for farmers to expand that operation. We do that through wholesale distribution. We sell to different institutional accounts like universities and colleges across the Midwest. We sell to institutions like casinos, which are actually big proponents of local food, hospitals, assisted living homes, some different ones on the retail side, grocery stores and co-ops, co-op, Fairways in the area, Quillen's in the area, Schimmel's down in Sumner. We supply some other products to them. We also work a lot with, and this is our work with food and fitness, K-12 schools up in the area. A big initiative across the country, and we're just one small part of that, is increasing fresh, local produce and products into the school system. The school system is very constrained about how much money it can spend on each meal for each child. We try to facilitate bringing in some fresh, cost-effective products into those schools, increase the amount of produce the kids are eating. And then we also provide a delivery service for hire for farmers who maybe have already set up accounts across eastern Iowa, but don't necessarily have the transportation to get that product from point A, from their farm gate to the store or restaurant or institution. So those are kind of the 4 different ways that we support our mission of getting farmers mainly, and then also food access, food equality. I think that's it.
Can you talk us a little bit about the food box?
Oh yes. I forget that. I've been on an institutional kick lately. Another big thing that we did, and which actually kind of kicked off the Food Hub, is we run a food box program. So I don't know if some of you are familiar with the term CSA. That's community-supported agriculture. And in a nutshell, what that is a produce farmer typically will ask customers to put down a certain amount of money at the beginning of the year for the guarantee that they will receive, let's say, 20 boxes each week throughout the season of a variety of produce items, maybe sometimes eggs, different things like that. We run a similar program. Ours is called the Food Box Program. And how ours differs is we access a wide variety of different farms and a wide variety of different products. So we're working with multiple farms to provide produce on a weekly basis, but then we also give customers the option to add on milk, weekly milk, eggs, bread, meat, and then some value-added products. What we have done is typically targeted different work sites. So actually, Iowa University is one spot. I don't know if you've seen on Thursday afternoons, we drop boxes, or they're actually bags though, drop bags off at the rec center. The customers come over at the end of the day before they go home from work, grab that bag, go home. We provide a newsletter with recipes that they can use those products in, and they get it cooked at home. It's kind of a convenience factor as well as a wellness factor. We also partner with and provide this service to John Deere. We've partnered with John Deere World Headquarters down in Moraine, Iowa, John Deere in Dubuque, ACT, that test that you took before you went to college here, which I took as well. Their campus is located down in Iowa City. We provide boxes down there at 2 locations. University of Iowa, we partner with University of Northern Iowa, and then we partnered with law firms and insurance companies, some community centers for a wider breadth of people, some K-12 schools in Owine. So that's another big thing that kind of got our wheels turning, so to speak, our delivery truck going. Thanks. But thank you.
Thank you all for telling those stories. Now, we've got lots of time for some questions. So who would like to ask a question? Yes.
I got a question for Sharon. Why do you put lime in with the shrimp?
Okay, the question was, why do you put lime in with the shrimp?
Has to do with the pH.
It's not like lime, like a green lime. And I'll repeat all the questions because we're recording this, and it probably won't pick up the questions if I don't repeat them. So.
The biggest thing with the shrimp is making sure the water quality is effective for good growth rates. So he's checking for oxygen levels, nitrates, one or the other both, I can't remember. That's his department. The pH levels, let's see what else does he check for. Some water tests he does daily, some tests are weekly, some are monthly. Tests for ammonia, he tests for a lot of things. And if things are out of range or starting to get out of range, then he needs to make some sort of adjustments.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I was kind of curious about what the makeup of the majors are in this class, or in this audience. I don't know how it's broken up, or maybe you could tell me. Is it mostly business majors, or they're liberal arts, or, yeah.
How many of your business majors are the people who are majoring in areas outside of business? Okay. And within business, how many of you are management? Marketing? Accounting? Business administration? Finance? Ag business? Who have I missed? Okay, right up. All right. Another question. From either side. I want this to be very informal. I want to, yeah.
So, sorry, this kind of excludes you, but for being a business owner, being like a mentality question, when you were building your business, did you build for growth, or did you build for sustainability, keeping a job?
So as you're building your business, did you build for growth or for sustainability? Is that your question? Okay. Sure, we can start.
When I first opened the first location, absolutely sustainability. I had just finished working a part-time job at this place called Barn Happy in Cedar Falls. It's like antiques and Iowa collectibles, and they have lunch, and I mean, it was super laid back and super informal, and they had, 50 people come in over the course of an 8-hour day, and it was just really calm. And I just thought, how great would it be to open this little bakery and see my friends and hang out and have coffee? And I never have done that one day. So, so the first location absolutely was, this is what I want to do long term. I want to have this be my job. When the second location opened, it was not just sustainability for myself, but also my employees. And then here we go, we're going to grow. And so it wasn't in the original plan to even have more than one location. But then once we started, you can't help but plan for more. I mean, even now, we don't think we're going to do any more, but we constantly have a plan of what that might look like. So,
I think it's just, for starters, for us, it's just the sustainability, being there and having customers, getting to the point where it's profitable. We do have the capacity for growth. We built for the capacity for growth, but we don't know if that's where we will head or not. Kind of dependent on how the sustainability part goes before we do the growth thing.
Dave?
Well, I didn't get in for it either. Actually, I got in because my dad needed help. But after that, our customers actually drove the business. We just couldn't keep up. And we had to change the business because our suppliers were, we needed something, we needed quality parts, so we had to start doing our own. So now it's turned to where I want to make sure that it's sustainable. So when I get out, the employees or my daughter takes it over, or my son, or if it gets sold, that's a sustainable thing. So I'm kind of looking into that now. But one of the things that I look at, the EPA in my business, it's performance parts for trucks. And the EPA has a big issue with performance parts of any kind. So I got an email yesterday from one of the places, and the EPA wants to shut down any kind of turning an automobile into a race car. They want to do this by the end of 2016. So if that would happen, my business would, as it is today, pretty much vanish. So one of the things, because we had to get into the machining of parts to make our own, I'm looking out to see what we can do for other places, machining other kind of parts that wouldn't have anything to do with automotive. So that's what I have to look at for the next few years to make that business sustainable. If the EPA gets its way, it won't be building torque converters for trucks, because if you can't increase the power of the engine, the stock vehicle, things don't go bad with stock vehicle if they don't turn the power on. That's kind of where we're at.
And Nick, you might even want to be able to discuss this a little bit, I think.
So while we're a nonprofit, what I like to say is we're still beholden to the laws of economics. Just because we are set up as a 501c3, we do have to cash flow. We do have to pay our employees. We do have to pay the rent. We do have to keep the trucks running. So since we started to now, we have expanded in a massive growth. We started a few years ago with $20,000 worth of sales. This year we have an $800,000 budget. So we're still in that major growth stage. Initially it was a kind of a gunshot type approach to different ideas and sales. As we're refining our systems and understanding the markets a little bit better, we're definitely looking at a little bit more strategic processes for sustainability, maintaining those markets, maintaining those relationships, as opposed to just a straight up trajectory, but maybe a little plateauing, leveling off would be nice for us. We might be able to get a coffee with some friends at some time. So that's definitely, we were growth, growth, growth. But now we're thinking more of sustainability and long-term, and how can we actually affect change for a longer breath than just 5 years down the road or whatnot.
Another question. Yep. Knowing what you know now, would you go back and do it again? Dave, you want to take that one first? Yours is a different situation because you have family there.
Knowing what I know now and how it turned out, yes, I would go back and do it all again. If, when I was 19, I knew every step of the way what I was going to have to go through, then I probably would have taken the advice of my dad and get a 40-hour-a-week job and go home at the end of the week. He had told me one time that when you're in business, everybody is your boss. And I didn't understand that until I was in business, and then it became quite clear that yes, everybody is your boss, not boss of everybody else. So.
Sharon, you want to go next?
It's too soon to tell. I don't think anybody ever knows what they're getting into. I mean, you think you plan for every type of contingency, and you never do because you don't. I mean, I look back from starting farming 40-some years ago to starting my financial business 20-some years ago, and if I'd have known then what I know now and those things, it would have been too overwhelming to even think about. I think when you start, like I said, you have a pretty good idea of what you're going to expect. You always have surprises, but you have to take it one step at a time. And it's like eating the elephant. You can't eat it all at once. You eat the elephant a little piece at a time, and then you find out it was a bigger elephant than you thought. And you adapt. I mean, you kind of roll with it and make adjustments. And yeah, ask me 5 years from now on that one on the shrimp business.
I'd do it again. I just do it a little differently. Like I'd have probably taken a business class at some point. Just going into the whole deal, not having any knowledge of retail, any knowledge of business. I graduated from Upper Iowa with my degree in public policy. Really thought I'd be mayor. Like I was going to be in politics. Like no, this was not my plan. And so I didn't plan for. I probably made some earlier decisions. To kind of help me longer term. I'd have asked for help a lot sooner. I didn't ask for help for a really long time, and it nearly killed my business. So, I think that doing it again in the big picture, I don't think if you go into business, you ever think you wouldn't do it again. I just would have made some smarter choices when I was 30. Oh, yeah.
Nick, what about you?
On a personal level, yes, I would do it again. For a business standpoint, I think definitely the business or the Iowa Food Hub would still be around. That's kind of one of the objectives, is be able to do some stuff that's not going to work, and in hindsight 2020, but be able to communicate that to other farmers and other food entities, saying if you're going to do this, this is what you should think about a little bit more carefully.
Another question? Yes.
For those of us who will be going into sales, what type of advice do you have about recruiting new customers or new clients in the rural area?
For those going into sales, what advice do you have for recruiting customers in a rural area? Is that right? Okay. Let's see. Sharon, go ahead. She's going to say, ask me again later.
No, I've been in sales. I am in sales. I think the thing with sales is you be honest, you be upfront, you be direct. Don't beat around the bush. Especially in rural Iowa, it's just like everybody's busy. Just tell them. Know your product. I think I got 3 pieces of advice in sales. Know your product, know your competition, and know your customer.
Let's go to Dave. We'll just shake it all up here. And Dave, you're a little different because your customers aren't really just in the rural area, are they?
That's right, but that would be, My answer would be exactly the same. Know your customer, know your product, take care of your customer, don't beat around the bush. They don't have time for this bunch of stuff that, I mean, if you're not telling them just how it is, they're gonna see through that. I really don't have anything to add with that.
Natalie, you have anything you want to add?
I think we're a little bit different in that we're able to take our product to the rural areas. That's part of how Scratch Curbside came about. So for us, we know that nobody's going to drive 3 hours to come get a cupcake. We're going to drive to them the 3
I
hours.
bet some people have.
And you know, so that for us was like our biggest sales move was we're going to invest a huge amount of money in this truck, and all that truck's going to do is haul cupcakes. And so nobody kind of believed in it when we were talking about it, and now that we've done 1,000 locations and 200,000 miles, and I mean, we just keep going. And so for us, that's kind of the rural part, is take it to the customer. And we're a little bit different, that we don't care about our competition. We, from the beginning, said if we ever start thinking about the competition, we just need to close, because what we care about is what we do. It's a little different when it's, you know, you have like a sole product that you're introducing to people and educating people. For us, it's just cupcakes. You know, everybody knows what that is. And so that part of it's a little different, but taking the product to the customer is a huge part for us.
And Nick, you might be a little the same, is that right?
Yeah, in rural and urban areas, I think similar. Our competition is big food distributors. So Cisco's and Martin Brothers run very efficient systems, bring food from the West Coast and down south, year-round availability. So when I walk into a customer or a potential buyer, I have to explain who we are, why they even want to consider purchasing from us, tell that story about local food economy, the attributes of the produce. But I can't come into them going, I have a more expensive product, my service platform is not as good, and my customer service isn't going to be as good as my competitor. And those things don't necessarily have to be, are not true. I can come in with a competitively priced product. My service platform and my customer service is on par with some of those. There's a lot of educating on our side, but definitely have to chase. One thing that somebody else kind of taught me, and I find very true, is when going into potential customers and trying to get your product in over somebody else's product, is just ask where you need to be. What kind of price do I need to? What are you paying? Sometimes they'll just tell you, and they'll show you the list because they might want you to succeed. Don't be afraid to ask questions from them.
Okay. Yes?
Just kind of playing on the rural area for I guess for all of you. Do sales come from like just in person, or do you go online to try to reach out to large clients and just the rural area? Sorry to do sales.
Okay, so the question is basically, are your sales mostly on in person, or do you have an online business? Is that right? Okay. Who wants to start? Okay.
For our food box program, sales are done online. With that said, face-to-face is obviously better. All of our institutional account sales and retail sales and grocery, it's all over the phone, sometimes text. Emails, but emails are very, just the minority. You can't upsell very well over an email. You can't say, well, you're getting product X. What do you think about product Y? These are great this time of year. Price is great. I've got a flash sale on them. So definitely that one-on-one communication, whether that's in front of them or over the phone, that works for us.
Dave?
I would say about 95% of ours comes from online. And of that, half of it, the retail people, I mean, they'll email in, they'll have questions, and we'll have to email back and answer the questions. And that could be something that takes the course of a month. You know, they might email something in, and before they get back, to us with other questions and stuff like that. For the dealers, it's simply they email in an order and they'll know what they need because we have several different options for torque converters and parts. So they'll say, well, I need an X converter for a Allison transmission. That'll be pretty short, but for the retail side, it can be, you might give that person information and it might be 6 months to 2 years later before they actually buy. So we struggled with that a little bit at first, where and how to keep that information, so when the person calls back 4, 5, 6 times for the same vehicle and hasn't bought yet, we had to make a system to keep that information and update that information and easily access that information. So when he calls back the 3rd time, you can review it and see what he talked about, so you don't have to do that all that over. 95% online.
Sharon?
With the rural area, basically, people come to us for shrimp. I mean, right now, our markets are individuals like yourselves. We are trying to get into grocery stores and restaurants. That's a little bit harder thing. Again, the competition part is we're competing with the frozen stuff from Walmart. I mean, that's our competition. I mean, it really isn't from a quality and taste perspective, but it is from a pricing perspective. But most of my stuff is one-on-one. We do have an internet presence in that there is a website for Shrimptastic, and we have Facebook. But I have a marketing person that helps me with all that techie stuff. So anybody that's techie out there, good for you. Does that answer your question?
Our sales are 100% in person, over the phone, walk in, or we go to them. 90% of our presence is probably online. Our marketing, our social media is probably our biggest marketing tool, but we don't do any sales that way. It's such an important part of who we are as a business to get to know the people who are placing orders, that doing that on the website or something we just couldn't do.
Another question? Yes.
As far as your marketing operations go, how do you decide whether to do it on your own as far as social media goes, or whether to go with partnership marketing?
Okay, so for marketing, how do you decide whether to do it all yourself or to get a partner involved in the marketing, especially social media? Is that what your question was?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Since you were talking about social media, you want to start with that?
Yeah, I do 100% of our social media presence. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. That was a big deal for me because that's where we first started to get feedback from customers, and I never wanted my employees to have to deal with that, with stuff, just junk that happened online. So that's, that I don't think will ever change for us. We, 2 years ago, took on a partner in marketing, Ambridge Marketing, basically because I couldn't do it anymore. My background's in marketing, but there's so many hours in a day and I just couldn't do it. I have a friend that works at Ambridge and she just said, you know, you're sinking, you don't sleep, you're not, you know, you have to hand something off. Let me show you what we can do. And that was kind of the turning point for me, was seeing what a company could do. Doesn't cost that much, and they could take our marketing effort. You know, they produce commercials, they do online banners. They could just do a lot more than we couldn't produce ourselves. So the stuff we can do, we do, but we wanted to have a broader reach. So that's what we brought in a partner.
Do you want to say anything to that?
We do our own online social marketing. With that said, items like we just developed a new logo. We outsourced that to a graphic designer. We've done some different promotional flyers and marketing materials and have outsourced that to marketing companies that have a lot more experience. It's kind of an opportunity cost type thing, right? I can spend 10 hours and create something that's pretty poor, a flyer, or I can pay somebody a fee that can spend 30 minutes and do something much better. And my time's better spent getting out and doing sales and getting out and talking to customers and vendors, fixing the truck, getting the truck somewhere when it needs fixed, those kind of things.
Dave, you go next.
We really didn't have much of a marketing arm of the business until recently when my daughter started working for us. So basically, Marissa and Darla do the marketing, and if Marissa wants to talk about it, she can.
She's shaking her head.
But as far as me doing marketing myself, I wouldn't.
And you're not using any partners then, essentially? Okay. Sharon?
I hired someone to do our webpage design, as well as the brochures and the business cards. I know what I'm not good at, and so I find people that I know that are good at it. And I think that's one of the things you have to do in your business is really, concentrate on what you know you do best. And if you don't have the time or the inclination, then find somebody good that can do it. Now that person helps us kind of maintain it, but the marketing person that I have for my other business is also taking on a few hours a month to make sure that the Facebook stuff and the website stuff is up to date all the time. So we do the Facebook and the website. We send out email blasts when the shrimp is ready. We have recipes that we send out just to try to continue to touch people. But most of our advertising is through the social media, and then me doing things like this. I talk to Lions clubs, to Rotary clubs, everybody's always looking for a speaker. I told Lynn earlier, it's like, when I get done with this, I'm going to a nursing home. The residents wanted me to come and talk about our shrimping operation, and go, well, I don't know how much shrimp they eat, but you know what? They got employees, they'll be listening. So,
They're family members.
Yeah, family members, and, they might demand that the kitchen go come buy our shrimp, I don't know. So really just getting out there and being visible, and using the social media as much as we can, because it is such a unique thing. Also, we've been able to tap into different newspapers in the area too that have done articles on us, which is free advertising as far as I'm concerned.
Another question? Yes.
Just wondering whether there's been any major ethical dilemmas.
Yeah, have you had to deal with any major ethical dilemmas or ethical challenges? Sharon, go ahead and start. I'm sure those shrimp have lots of ethical challenges.
Because it's just me and my husband, there's no ethical dilemmas, there's no sexual harassment. No.
I wouldn't say there haven't been. We've dealt with some partners that haven't been super truthful, or employees that post real questionable things on Facebook that we have to challenge, I think you just always kind of deal with stuff once you get past a couple of people, when you hire outside of the people that you know. I think there's always little stuff that comes up. I don't know if I'd say it's ethical dilemma, but challenges for sure.
Dave, you want to go next?
We really haven't had any problem with that, and I think it's because I tell our employees that if they're asked a question, they tell the truth, no matter what the truth is. And if we made a mistake, we explain that we made the mistake, and we explain that we'll fix the mistake. But trying to cover something up, if we sold them the wrong part, or if we built, for instance, let's say somebody wanted a transmission that would act a certain way in first gear for drag racing as opposed to sled pulling, and we messed up and we built it the opposite way. Instead of trying to explain that away, we tell them, messed up, we'll fix it, or if you want to leave it that way, whatever you want to do, we'll take care of it. But no matter what the situation is, it's easier to tell the truth the first time. You don't have to keep track of any kind of story. That just works the best. That pretty much takes care of all the ethical stuff in our business anyway.
Yeah, we haven't had any real issues in terms of, we're obviously an honest shop, deal with honest people, the majority. One thing that, being a nonprofit, that's been a struggle at times, this isn't necessarily ethical, but kind of along the lines is our main objective is there's two main missions: help small beginning farmers in Northeast Iowa and increase food access, local food access to people that are underserved. And oftentimes, I can't run my system just selling local greens to different places. It's not going to run the trucks. It's not going to pay for my sales and marketing person. It's not going to pay for my 2 part-time drivers. It's not going to pay for my bookkeeper. It's not going to pay my salary. It's not going to pay the lights. So having to make some sort of compromise and realize that you have to sometimes move some larger quantities of conventional pork or something like that while still supporting local producers and local lockers. That's not our direct mission, but by helping those folks out, which also need help, we are keeping the ship moving, so to speak, helping out smaller beginning farmers and increasing more food into local schools. So you always have to kind of juggle that nonprofit mission and then also the business mission. We got to keep this afloat and keep it running. But at the end of the day, we do everything. We feel good about what we're doing and what we're selling and the product that we're selling, the quality we're selling. So ethically, I think we're on good standing there.
Okay, thank you. Another question? Yes?
Have any of you considered implementing internship programs with your business? And if not, how are you attracting quality employees?
Have you considered doing internship programs, or have you done internship programs? And if not, how are you attracting quality employees? Is that your question? Okay. We'll start, Nick.
That's funny. I was actually I've been thinking about this for a while. When we were based up in Decorah, we accessed Luther College interns to help us out with some different systems. Now that we're down here in West Union and more established, and we're growing and creating efficiencies, I was going to talk to Lynn or somebody about potentially seeing if UIU has an internship type program. Our biggest thing that I'm finding, well, there's many things that I think an intern, a business intern, could help out with is we have a lot of data that's out there. Sales and vendors and margins and whatever, and being able to capture all that data, analyze it for certain things, distill some information, some trends, what's actually making us more money versus some other different initiatives. I think an intern can definitely help us out with that. Data analysis is something that we definitely need some help with.
Dave?
We would always welcome interns because it can only help us, and we might gain an employee from it. Always welcome.
Okay. Sharon?
We actually have had an Upper Iowa intern. She's a conservation major, and so she worked for us last fall. We really enjoyed having her, and she did a lot of our water testing, got a computer program going for us. So we do entertain more interns, especially if you work for free.
We've had a few interns in 6 years. They've all been on like the administrative side rather than, like who wants to be a thinking intern. So we've done like marketing interns, human resources, accounting. So our marketing intern ended up becoming our marketing director. So that worked out well. But yeah, the right person comes along, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Yes?
My favorite question for successful entrepreneurs and business people in general is, what is the biggest mistake you've made in your career that always stuck with you and you learned a really valuable lesson?
What was the biggest mistake you've made, and what was the lesson you learned from that? Is that your question?
In business.
In business, yes, of course. Sharon, you want to start?
I'm sure I've made them. I don't know if they've been that huge. I think the biggest thing sometimes is not trusting your instincts, or depending on someone else when you know you should only depend on yourself. Nobody cares about your business like you do.
I have two. One piggybacks on Sharon's. Really early on, I was kind of challenged in my vision for what Scratch would become. I really wanted to open this cupcake bakery, and everybody told me it would never make it. You cannot have a bakery that's just cupcakes. So I gave in, and when we first opened, we were absolutely not what we are today. About 3 weeks after we opened, we shut down for a few days, we rebranded ourselves, and we opened up as Cupcakes Only. And so that was kind of a good education for trusting my gut, and helping other people realize that, like, I mean, I've got some ideas and I probably am gonna follow through with them. But then the other thing was, when I first started, I thought I had to know everything about what I was doing, and it was important to me to be the smartest person in the room. And now if I'm the smartest person in the room, I leave the room. Because that's not important to me anymore. It's more important that I can learn from you, that I can learn from the experiences of everybody around me. It's great that I know some things about my business, but I no longer care if, you know, I have the most to say or whatever, because I truly think I have the most to learn. And so that was kind of good education my first year of, you know, people aren't going to follow you if you're, you know, think that you know everything. And so once I kind of humbled myself and realized I really don't know anything about what I'm doing, that was kind of my stepping point. Dave?
I guess probably the biggest thing is I have myself landlocked right now, so I can't really expand the building. And I don't know if it was really a mistake, because I probably would have never left St. Lucas anyway. And but if I had moved to West Union or to Decorah or someplace like that and had a bigger lot that I could expand the building, that certainly would help. Right now I'm landlocked, and you know, by the time I get any more ground bought, but there's a field behind us, I think by the time I get it bought, it'll be time for me to retire. So that would be one thing. The other is we had a dealer. Anyway, we had a dealer that I probably trusted too much, and we put product at that location, and cores, which those are transmission housings that you rebuild stuff. And when I didn't check that place out good enough. And, it took me a long time to get those cores back and to get out of that deal. So when you're dealing with people, you have to trust them somewhat, but you have to check them out too. And however you do that is probably different in each situation.
For me, personally, mirror a lot what Natalie was saying is being willing to ask for help, understanding that you're not going to know everything, and you don't need to be the smartest person in the room and know everything about everything. That's something, you know, that I think many people struggle with continually. That pride issue of I've got to know it all, I've got to be the top dog in terms of knowing everything. You don't. That's what makes a successful business at times, is the support network and good people coming together.
Okay. Another? Yes? Okay, when you're getting the business going, how far ahead do you plan financially before you're making profit? Is that kind of the question? Okay. Well, Nick, yours is nonprofit. Do you want to add anything on that or not?
When it was started, cash flow is obviously a big issue at the beginning of a business. The way that the system was set up was, this is just a little tidbit of a bigger question. We got paid instantly, but then we were able to pay our vendors 30 days out. So we had 4 weeks of income before we even had to cut a check. And so having your customers pay you quicker than pay your vendors helped out this entity quite a bit. Being able to afford a truck and pay bills right off the bat. It's a small piece.
Dave? You didn't start from scratch, so I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
we kind of started behind the 8 ball. So this is another area of knowing who you're talking to and trusting and checking things out. So when we got into business, I was approached by a banker in the area, and he thought my brother and I should buy out my dad. So when we got the loan made, and then this certainly wasn't legal, but there was 2 naive 19 and 24-year-old kids that were going into business. Then it was sprung on us that, well, by the way, your dad still has a few loans here, and we'll just tack those on to your loans. It won't add much to the monthly cost, so you won't even notice it. So that's how we started out, and I would not recommend starting out that way, because when you do, it becomes a case of, you're, I don't know what you call it, but you're following the checkbook for a while. You're making sure that you're covering the checks that you wrote out with money that's coming in, and, it took a while before we were above that. But
It's a good thing back then that you could still float checks for a little bit, right?
That's right. Yeah, I don't think it would work today, because
Banking
things are pretty
happens a lot
instant.
fast.
And, back then you'd write a check, and it was probably a week before the thing would get to the other bank and then clear. So at least you had a little float time there. But that's not like it is today.
It really is about cash flows. It has nothing to do with your asset level or net worth. It's about cash flows. Money in versus money out. When are we going to be profitable? That's a really good question. 3 to 5 years. We're not quitting our day jobs. You should, if you're starting in business, you either better have a banker that's going to work with you with a line of credit. So if you do need, cash flows that are not, or have to meet cash flows that are unexpected, you've got something already lined up. Have reserves. Have another job. Have a partner that has a regular income, or you work your career off for 40 years, and then any bank will go along with whatever you want to do.
We're kind of in the same lingo that it's all about cash flow. We turned a profit right away. We were really lucky in that, but we have continually reinvested that into the company. And so we got to take banks out of the mix pretty quickly, because we were all very focused on when we make money, it's going to go back into the business. I'm also real lucky that my mom happens to be our CFO. I employ her full-time. Her entire life history is in banking. So she has my best interest at heart. I don't have to wonder, when I go to one of the big banks, what they think of the company or share numbers or all of that. It's my mom, and so when I sit down and have a conversation with her about what are we investing in this year, it's real conversation. There's not fees attached. There's not, any of that. So we can make our payroll, and we can pay for the buildings, and we can make, pay all of our vendors and all of that. But it really has more to do with money in, money out.
Another question? Summer has one.
Can you talk to us and tell us a little bit about its value? So be it torts or quarters or boxes or bags or cupcakes?
Are you saying the value they're providing?
No, the volume.
Volume. Thank
So
you, I didn't hear that.
monthly, weekly, or annually?
So how big is your business in volume? Can you quantify it? Sure, go ahead.
We haven't really put numbers on it. We probably bake 10,000 cupcakes in a day. On what's today? On a Wednesday. So if it's a weekend, it's higher. If we've got weddings, it's higher. In the middle of the summer, when there's 5 weddings at the Coralville store, and a wedding is 400 cupcakes, So volume is pretty high, but we, keep having to employ and have bigger space and more space, all of that. So it seems like high volume, but it kind of works out.
How do you quantify your shrimp?
We sell it by the pound, but we never know how much we're going to have. And we are ramping up slowly. I mean, our first couple of batches were small on purpose because we needed to make sure that we could grow them. The survivor percentage or the death loss, you can have anywhere from 10% death loss to 100% death loss. We don't know what that's going to be. And again, I don't feel like I can give much for numbers right now. We haven't even been in business for a year. I mean, our first shrimp went out the door in July of last year. So we sell it, you know, it's the poundage that we're looking at getting out of there. But that also varies on what size of shrimp we're selling. If we're just selling a 30 count per pound, or if we're selling a 20 count per pound. And we never know how much is, because they're bottom feeders, we can't really tell how much is in the tank. We don't know if we have 10 pounds in the tank, 60 pounds in the tank. He's getting better at it. He can dip the net now and go, this is a good one. This is a good batch. So I really don't have numbers for you on that yet.
In 2000, our sales was were probably about 400,000, and next year they should be about 4.4 million. And getting back to that question that you had before, I'm wondering if you were asking what kind of line of credit you would need or want before you started. And if I were starting another business, if I predicted my sales for the first 3 months, I would probably want at least that volume or that line of credit. You know, if I thought my sales were going to be $200,000, and then for the year, divide that by 12, multiply it by 3, and I probably want a line of credit like that, so that at least for the first 3 months, I could go out there and work on the business, not try and figure out how am I going to pay this, that, the other.
In terms of volume, we do food boxes. We do about 150 food boxes in a typical week. We're taking a break winter here.
My daughter's devastated by that.
I'm sorry.
She says, I'm going to have to go buy milk.
We're doing an a la carte program.
Oh, so all a la carte still goes for
Potentially, we'll talk
okay.
about it.
We'll talk.
Sales, I think I mentioned earlier, we've $800,000 budget this year. About 20% of that is our food boxes, about 20% are grants, and then the rest is wholesale sales.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, when you guys started out, did you do a test run to see if insurance kind of unique to this area and trying to get one of the test runs, or just
So did they start with test runs or test markets of any sort before they started? Okay.
That's kind of how we started off, yeah. Little pilot projects. Can we move product A into this system? Okay, it works. Let's try something else. And then we just started building and building and building. Small baby steps, just trying something. People are more receptive when we were talking about pilot project. We didn't feel like they had to lock in and purchase something for long term. Just tested it out for us.
We did not when we started, but we do now. If we are going to manufacture a new thing, we'll make several of them and send some out to our dealers and see how they like them, if they want this change or that change. Than when we started. What we do now.
I did check with quite a few restaurants in the area to see what their interest would be, but the response was, well, maybe we'll be interested, but we want a sample and we want a price. And I had neither. The other shrimpers that we talked to, they said, if you grow it, they will come. So that's kind of a wing and a prayer kind of thing. So yeah, we're going into it backwards. You know, most people develop their markets first. You can't develop a market when you don't have a product and you don't have a price.
We didn't really test our markets first. Now we have focus groups. We just launched new product in January, and that came from feedback from customers, had customers come in, give us feedback, that kind of thing. When we first started, we were encouraged to do some market testing, and we just didn't have that kind of time. So we just did it.
Maybe one more? Carrie? Oh, wait. Did somebody else have a hand up that I haven't asked one yet? Yes. Okay, did you start your business because it was your passion, or did you see an opportunity in the market? So we'll start now.
I get this question a lot on hands. My passion really is making people happy. My tool happens to be cupcakes. So I think that a lot of people can look at what their passion is and figure out, okay, well then that's supposed to be my job. But I don't necessarily think the two have to go hand in hand. You can be super passionate about video games, but you're probably not going to be a video game programmer. You know, you can do product testing, you can do, I mean, all kinds of things. So my tool of cupcakes was kind of fed by my passion. We just happened to be able to align the two.
So the cupcakes were maybe a market opportunity
Yeah, potentially.
to exercise the passion. Sharon, are shrimp your passion?
I think it's a little bit of both for us. I mean, I think growing something, producing something is my husband's passion. And I support him in that passion. We also saw the potential, you know, that the aquaculture industry is an up-and-coming, cutting-edge kind of thing, and it's pretty exciting, really, to be on that cutting edge. It's kind of scary, too. So I think it was just a combination.
When we started out, that was not my passion, but developing different torque converters and seeing how they work, or if they improve the performance, that is my passion now. So I did kind of steer the business to that. It was both out of necessity, and that's what I did like to do. So.
And the Iowa Food Hub was started up by a collection of community organizations representing the community, recognizing the market need, and a lot of people being passionate and spending a lot of time developing this system.
Okay, I have one last question to wrap it up. So what would be your words of wisdom to someone who's considering a small business? Dave, you want to start?
Well, someone had said it before, know your product, know your customer. I mean, those are the main things. If you're going to start a new business, what are you going to start with? You've got to know it inside and out. You got to know who you're going to sell it to. You got to know the suppliers. You got to make sure that the suppliers are financially stable. I mean, you don't want to get going and then have a supplier go belly up. Because I like to have two suppliers for everything that we need. Because if something happens to one place, if it burns down or whatever, you can't be out of stuff that you need from them. So, one of the other things, good banker, good attorney, good accountant.
Just to reiterate, feeling willing to ask for help, whether that's professionally, somebody you know, family members, when you're starting out, bouncing off ideas, understanding of a certain segment that you may not know very well.
I think just be prepared to work a lot of hours. You're not going to have a life.
I mean, mine really is just go for it. And don't do it half, don't do it 3/4 of the way, just go for it. Because if you're not 100% on board, nobody else is going to be. I think it was Sharon that said nobody loves your business as much as you do. That will be true every day of your business career. You will always have more passion, you will always work more hours, but you also have all of the investment. So good or bad, it's all coming back to you anyway. Might as well give every ounce of yourself to it.
Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you all for sharing your wisdom with us and your experiences with us. I think we'll wrap up now, and thank you.